third episode of House of the Dragon Season 2, and also the third episode of me applying what I know about political science and international relations to a television show. A fantasy one at that. But we've done some interesting things so far. We talked about the origins of war, how fear, honor, and self-interest will be the cause of a war. We also discussed last week about the differences between hard military power and soft diplomatic power. Both of these concepts will be important for interpreting House of the Dragon episode 203. This episode starts out with the Blackwoods and the Brackens crashing into each other at their little borderline and being a microcosm of the civil war that's about to encapsulate the entire Westeros area. There's a handful of good scholarly works that define how most deaths occurred in civil war. One is this great book by Stathis Kalivas. It's called The Logic of Violence in Civil War. This book has many ideas about how deaths occur in civil war, but one good one is that civil war will be the mask of other motivations at the local level to kill your neighbor. Like, I never liked that guy, so what I'm gonna do is say he's on the other side of the Civil War, or prove it, and it'll give me a reason to kill him. This happened a lot in the Bosnian Civil War and the breakup of the Yugoslav states. Into various states, you'd see a lot of this type of political violence, or political violence is really personal. Kalivas says something interesting. He says, a key paradox of civil war is that it increases the need for moderating the population while simultaneously undermining the actor's capacity to do so. So this is what we're seeing here with the Brackens and the Blackwoods, and why it should be concerning to leadership. Another main theme of this episode, the notion that men are eager to go to war and women are very diplomatic and do everything that they can to try and prevent it. This is a complete fallacy if we look at history. So look at Margaret Thatcher and her willingness to arm naval ships in its Falkland Island War with Argentina with nuclear depth charges over a little tiny island off the coast of Argentina. Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister of the UK, was willing to nuke the Argentines. Think about Golda Meir, Prime Minister of Israel's reaction to Palestinian Islamic terrorists murdering Israeli Olympians in 1972. It was wage war on Fatah and the PLO, using all sorts of Mossad tactics to assassinate the people behind the massacre at the Olympics, the Munich massacre. Women in international relations tend to be no less bellicose than men. So there is that kind of distraction in this show, showing all the women involved wanting to go down like a soft power route versus the men who are gearing up for war. Now, we know that there's this fear the dragons, right? These are essentially proxies for like nuclear weapons. And the notion is mutual assured destruction. If one side has dragons and the other side has dragons, then they're not going to go to war. This is MAD, or mutual assured destruction, which was the doctrine of the United States during the Cold War vis-a-vis the Soviets. And while there were no nuclear exchanges between the two countries during the existence of the USSR, at times, events did show that the MAD convention was far off base and people don't think rationally, they don't weigh nuclear weapons in a rational way. So we shouldn't expect these two teams, the green team and the black team, to use their dragons in a rational way either. Ultimately, ideology and identity trump rationality when it comes to international relations, as in all politics. This is a great book by Keith Payne. He's a professor of nuclear arms history and stuff like that. He has a great quote: a challenger's perceptions, goals, resolve, will, concept of national honor, and risk will be keys to its behavior under any type of threat. Rationality does not imply that the decision maker's prioritization of goals and values will be shared or considered sensible to any outside observer. In other words, rationality is relative to one's ideology or culture. Culture is simply the boundaries of the ways that you achieve or seek to achieve your goals. Ideology is the collective set of beliefs that tells us where our past is, narrates our present, and sets goals for the future. So in this sense, ideology, identity, who you are and how you fit that ideology, and your culture are always going to be the most important factors in any type of political calculation. One fun thing in this episode is we see these 4 eggs, 3 of which look like the eggs that went to Daenerys later on in the history of Westeros. But there is a story that suggests those eggs had been stolen prior to this story and might already have been shipped off to Essos somewhere. We'll see if the show breaks a little bit of canon, or a little bit of lore at least.